Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight.
The Nurses Union president gives an update on their impasse with the Public Hospitals Authority.
Urban renewal representatives hear the cries of Freetown residents.
I'm Jillian Gray.
I'm Farron Knowles, Kyle Joaquin, and this is the TRX Fitness Challenge.
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. Months after nurses walked off the job and engaged in a sick-out that shut down public clinics, Bahamas Nurses Union President Amanda Williams says tensions are still running high in the public healthcare system. Williams says the PHA is still insisting on implementing a controversial shift system. She reminded the PHA that the union still has its strike certificate. Jasmine Brown reports.
Williams says despite their silence in recent months, the nurses union is ready to strike at any moment. Williams telling reporters today that the union and PHA officials remain at an impasse over a new 8-hour shift system for nurses that was expected to start December 10th.
No one started the new shift system underneath this BNU, and no one will start that shift change.
The PHA announced the new system last year. PHA Managing Director Catherine Weish said the new system establishes a 40-hour work week and an 8-hour daily shift, as opposed to the current 10-hour shift for night duty nurses. Weish said the PHA had proposed to pay all nurses scheduled to work between the hours of 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. an amount of $1.75 per hour, in addition to their standard base hourly pay. The announcement prompted massive fallout, with nurses firing back by staging several sick-outs. They also demonstrated their disgust by walking off the job and even marching around the Ministry of Health last November. Their actions prompted several clinics across the country to temporarily shut down. Today, Williams said the union could not agree to the shift system then and will not agree to it now.
We never came to an agreement. The government still wants to pay $1.75 for a shift change. We can't agree to that. You have to be competitive. When you come to a bargaining table, you can't stay at $1.75. You must see that you have some interest in the worker and move to at least $3. But when you're staying to $1.75 and $1, don't make no sense to come to the bargain table. We're not going to accept that.
Williams warned that the union has a strike certificate in hand and will not think twice about industrial action if it has to.
When they take an action, we will move forward. We have a strike certificate in hand. We received that of December 2018, and we will move forward.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
All right, thanks, Jasmine. Police are investigating the discovery of a body in an apartment complex off Carmichael Road. Chief Superintendent Solomon Cash says police were alerted shortly after 9:30 on Thursday.
Police was called to the scene of discovery of a male body that was found at an apartment complex here at Lakeshore Drive, which is off Carmichael Road. Once the police got here, they met the lifeless body of a male who was in the apartment complex, which is under construction on the second level of that complex.
Cash says EMS personnel were called to the scene where they pronounced the man dead. He added that the body had injuries and was discovered by relatives.
We noticed that there were apparent what appeared to be stab wounds to the upper level of the body. The only information we're working with is that relatives who haven't heard from their loved one during the course of the week had reasons to come to this apartment. When they got here, they met their relative unresponsive, hence they called the police.
Now, police initially reported that the body was discovered in a closet. However, Cash disputed that information.
Just to clarify, was the body found? Do you know where it was found in the home?
It was at the apartment in the rear of this complex, which is under construction.
Following a fiery statement from the Embassy of the People's Republic of China in the Bahamas, chargé d'affaires in the U.S. Embassy in Nassau, Stephanie Bowers, encouraged leaders to be wary of whom they get into business with. Bowers said, "We encourage all leaders to choose high quality, transparent, and inclusive foreign investment, and we want to ensure development financing does not result in unsustainable debt." She added, when evaluating types of partnerships and investment relationships, leaders must ensure they are getting the best deal for their country and the people over the long term. Bowers' comments come as Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis joins the leaders of Jamaica, Haiti, Dominican Republic, and St. Lucia in a multilateral meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump today in Mar-a-Lago, Palm Beach, Florida. Earlier this week, in a statement addressing the meeting, the White House Office of the Press Secretary said the U.S. President looks forward to working with Caribbean countries to counter China's predatory economic practices. In other news, Minister of National Security Marvin Dames is responding to concerns raised by criminal defense attorneys who say far too often police extract confessions from their clients by beating them. This comes as a video went viral on social media showing a man in distress being escorted into an ambulance at CDU. Jared Higgs reports.
Let's talk about witnesses being intimidated. Let's talk about witnesses being shot and killed. That's what we need to be focusing on in this country.
Dames was responding to questions from our news regarding a video showing a man being escorted to a waiting ambulance at the Central Detective Unit. Attorney Christina Galano shot the video and says the man is her client, although she is refusing to reveal his identity. Chief Superintendent Solomon Cass says officers told him the man suffered a medical issue, while Galanos alleges that her client was beaten by police. When asked whether he feels that the issue of police brutality, in particular to extract confessions, was prevalent in the police force, Dames says all individuals who feel aggrieved have a course of action they can take. However, he slammed criminal defense attorneys, suggesting that they are more focused on the rights of their clients than they are for innocent witnesses.
I think we should focus as well on those persons who are witnesses to these matters, right? Who are constantly threatened, whose life have to be protected on a daily basis, and in some instances, who end up losing their lives. Let the criminal defense attorneys talk about that.
According to a United States State Department human rights report, the Police Complaints Inspectorate, which oversees complaints made against police, has not met since 2017. In the past, criminal defense attorneys have criticized police for what they describe as a pattern of abuse by officers seeking to extract confessions from persons suspected of committing serious offenses. In a Facebook post dated March 20th, criminal defense attorney Bjorn Ferguson, a former police detective, wrote, "It is just too much technology in the 21st century to still have law enforcement beating confessions out of people." Dames insisted, though, that police have a lot of that technology and are putting it to use.
There are incidents where these persons are caught on cameras, face up. Okay, evidence is there. There are instances where the investigators are trained, where they find blood on scene, fingerprints on scene, where there are other witnesses.
It was also suggested to Dames that beating suspects into confessing was contrary to the administration of justice, because a person who may be guilty of an offense can walk free if a judge is convinced that police officers abused their powers in extracting that confession.
Of course, that's the way our system works. This is a democracy.
Claims of police brutality are frequent in the Bahamas. Dames has previously stated that the issue will be tackled and that allegations are taken seriously. He says the pending introduction of body cameras to police uniforms is an example of government's commitment to greater accountability.
Everyone has rights, and we're going to protect the rights of every single Bahamian. And so if someone is aggrieved, we're going to ensure that we take the necessary steps to get to the bottom of it. That is why this government is introducing CCTV, we're introducing body cams, we're coming very shortly with video cams, okay, where we started tape recording, video recording interviews. So all of these is in an effort to bring about a higher level of transparency.
According to police figures, 245 complaints were filed against officers in 2018. Dames has stated that despite the statutory role of the Police Complaints Inspectorate, investigating complaints against police officers ultimately falls to the Deputy Commissioner of Police. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Hughes.
All right, thanks, Jared. The Bahamas Union of Teachers is preparing to give the Ministry of Education an ultimatum over what the union president calls stalled negotiations relating to the union's expired industrial agreement. Belinda Wilson telling reporters today that it is unacceptable that the union has still not received a counterproposal from the ministry.
To date,
I do not have a counter proposal. I do not have any information from education as to who are the members of their team, and we do not have a counter proposal. However, I promise you, they will get a letter by Monday, and they're going to be given 7 days for us to get to the table, because our agreement would have expired from June 30th, 2018.
Earlier this month, Wilson told our news that the union is asking for outstanding money and a better quality of life for its members, among other things. Wilson said the union submitted its 2018-2021 draft industrial agreement to Minister Jeffrey Lloyd and his permanent secretary last June. However, she says education officials failed to meet the February 2019 deadline to submit a counterproposal.
It's sickening that we cannot follow the policies or the laws that are presently in place. And what is even worse is when you're not when education or the government does not communicate with you. If you presented them with a document 9 months ago and they're having a challenge getting us a counter proposal, then write to us formally and say, we wrote to you formally.
Last week, Lloyd told reporters outside Cabinet that his ministry has already assembled a team for the negotiations. The union has had several grievances over the past year, ranging from outstanding money, teacher shortages, and working conditions in schools throughout the country. Wilson says there has been no movement on the ministry's part, but she doesn't blame Lloyd for that.
The problem has been that not only this government or this minister, the Ministry of Education, a lot of times we put the focus on the minister, but you have a permanent secretary, you have a director, you have a deputy permanent secretary, you have an undersecretary, you have deputy directors, you have assistant directors of education who get our taxpayers' money and not doing their work in an effective manner.
Still to come, urban renewal officials canvass the Freetown constituency. Plus, labor and trade union officials hold their second tripartite meeting. Stay tuned.